with you the other night. Hold on, let me put it on the big face cam for a second. So what I was gonna try and do with you was I was going to oh wait, hold on, I have to take it out of studio mode. So what I was gonna try to do with you the other night, but apparently you can only stream for like 12 minutes, is I wanted to like go through the deck list with you and then like ladder, but then like you just have no stream stamina, bro. Like you haven't snorted enough G Fuel. Like what's wrong with you? Snort more G Fuel. 40 versus 40, this is what you got them saying? 40 versus 40, gotta love to see it. Gotta love to see it. But so we topped the Extravaganza. And this event was weird. Like this event was like real weird. So like now that our friendships have arrived, we're just gonna oh no, I'm clicking buttons. Well, welcome friends, welcome. This is us. We're kind of a mess, but we topped the Extravaganza, so that's good. Is that good? Yeah, so okay, so we topped the Extravaganza this past weekend, and the event was pretty good. Like, but it was really weird. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. But I think in short summary, we got 8th place, but we played like 2 real matches and we lost them both. So like, you know, like we still won the rest of the matches we played, but like they didn't feel real at all, and I'll get into it in a bit. I'll get into it at the end, but I'm gonna switch over and we're gonna go over the deck profile. So let's go over to box opening cam. Alright, so I'm gonna move this out of the way. I'm gonna get this deck box open. We're gonna, what is this? This is the mouse. So we're gonna just move the mouse, right? So all right, so let's just go straight into the deck. Deck's already sorted, so to start off with the monsters, we played 3 Safer, you know, as you do. We played Dragon Link. Story time? I'm gonna do story time after the deck profile, slashy. But we're just gonna do the deck profile first, just before it gets, like, too dark in my room. Like, it's already kind of dark, actually. Hold on, let me see if I can up the exposure real quick. Because that looks, like, so dark. Like, you guys see that? Like, that looks, like, disgustingly dark. Oh yeah, that's so much better. Woo! Look at that, night and day, literally. Someone give me a sub, please. Hey, hold on, Austin. I got you. Also, is it just me, or is this camera like lagging really bad?
I want you to twerk on my face.
Hey, Pike, thank you for the sub, friend. Thank you for the twerking on my face. Gift, or wait, how do I gift subs? Hold on, how do I gift subs? Oh, gift a sub. Okay, nobody take this from me. How do I gift? Wait, how do I gift it to a specific person? I have no, oh, there we go. The DB Grinder. Alright, there we go. Austin, just for you, homie. Just for you, bro. I got you. See, Pike hits us with the gift sub.
Twerk on my face.
I give out the gift. Or Pike hits us with the sub. Jacob hits us with the sub. I hit you with the gift sub. Sheesh, let's go. Twerk on my face, buddy. So, alright, so let's just hop into the deck profile now. Now that we've got all the clowning out of the way, let's just hop straight into it. I should put hair gel in. This is probably going on YouTube. So we start off with 3 Safer, you know, as you do. Best card in the deck. Wait, is it actually lagging? Hold on. I thought that was just me. Hold on. Is it still lagging? What the fuck? Yo, it is. What? Why is it doing that? Thanks for the gift sub. Of course, buddy. I got you. I got you, homie. Your camera doesn't want to exist? I know, like... Oh, God. This camera was, like... Holy shit, it's, like, actually... I hate it here. Camera focus... Autofocus, auto zoom, no. Auto expose, no. Maybe if I turn off low light compensation. How's that? Is that better? There we go. There we go. I don't know what I did, but it looks like it's fixed now. Alright. Alright, so for the third time in a row, let's try this. Hold on. Let's just start over from the beginning, friends. Alright. So, we topped the Extravaganza this weekend. This event was really weird. That's about it. Let's just hop into it. Oh no, that's DB. Oh, Jesus. I hate it here. I'm gonna have an absolute hell of a time editing this. This is gonna be like an absolute mess to edit. Alright, so. Alright, it was fine. So, hopping into it for like, what, the 5th time, 4th time, 6th time? Hopping straight into it, we played 3 copies of Safer, you know, as you do. As you do. This card's crazy. I don't think we need to explain Safer. Something we couldn't explain, though, is that we played 3 copies of Noctivision. Noctivision is a really strong starter in the Dragon Link deck. And, you know, like, we've always kind of, like, messed around with Noctivision sometimes. I think when the deck, like, first started being played, like, a year ago, like, we were playing 3 of this. Like, when this card first came out, we played 3 of it, but then we quickly cut it to 1. We're back to playing it at 3 now, because the deck has lost a lot of its consistency, a lot of its gas by losing LP. So you want to generate as much advantage as possible now, so that you can try and control some of, like, you can control as much of your game state as possible. So, like, you want to see as many cards, and leave as little to variance as possible. So we play 3 Nocto. It also has a second effect that's really good, that for whatever reason, I don't think I've seen a single person on the face of the earth that doesn't play this deck compulsively that knows that this card can protect set cards. So its second effect is that if it's in the graveyard and your opponent targets a set card that you have, i.e. the Dragon Maid Tidying that's on your field, you can banish it from the graveyard and protect that set card, and then your opponent can't target that card for the rest of the turn. So it's, like, actually crazy. So I think that came up like once or twice for me. I can't really remember. But people play into that effect all the time. Second effect, best effect? Absolutely. Like, second effect is actually just insane. Also, Pike says, I'm in a draft tournament on the 21st. Ooh, good luck, Pike. Good luck. So, moving on, for the Rockets, we played 2 Abso Router, 2 Tracer, 2 Synchron, 1 Recharger. This is a pretty standard lineup, I would say. 2 Abso Router is similar to Noctivision, because we're playing 3 Noctivision now. We want to have a better chance of, you know, like, opening Safer Abso Router or Chaos Space Abso Router. Again, same idea. You want to leave as little to variance as possible in this deck now. And you would think that that would also mean that you play 3 Tracer. And you can play 3 Tracer, but because you're playing the 2 Abso Router and you're playing the Noctos, you're seeing so many cards that you don't want to, like, have the Tracer be redundant. Like, you don't want to end up with 2 Tracers in your hand. So just 2 is fine on Tracer. The third one's a little bit unnecessary, though. If you want to change things in the list, you could definitely make room for a third one if you find yourself missing it. 2 Synchron, obviously we're already playing 5 good targets for Synchron, as well as obviously Pepega, which is in the extra deck. That's a good target for this card. So this card has a lot of good reborns and is probably your best follow-up, like post turn 1. So this card's crazy. And then obviously we play the 1 Recharger for Tracer. It's a little bit worse now because you don't have the extra strikers to burn through, but you'd be surprised how often like you can still do the striker play and pop yourself, get Recharger, summon back. I actually used that to kill, I think, my round 2 opponent through a Droll and Lockbird. My opponent drolled me, and I had pitched Red MD off of Chaos Space. So after they drolled, and I had a Recharger in hand, I think. I either normal summon Recharger or I had it in hand already. And I just like did the play, got back the Red MD, and then popped off from there. It was pretty solid. Or I might have used Tracer to summon the Recharger and then made Striker with Recharger. I don't really remember, but I just remember I summoned back the Red MD and it was crazy. What up, BB? Hey, what's up, Smitty? Hi, it's me, the Awesome Man. Hey, what's up, Awesome Jet? How you doing? We're just going through the deck profile right now from the Extravaganza this weekend. Then we're going to talk about why this event was weird and just everything that occurred during this event, because this event was just like the weirdest tournament I think I've ever played in my entire life. So then we played 1 Chambermaid. We're cutting down from 2, which we've been playing a lot on the stream recently, and if you've been following the streams, you probably know what I cut this card for. But so just 1, but we'll get to those cards when we get to them. This card's still crazy though. Like you just set up tight aim with it, but you just don't need to. I don't think. I think 2 is a little bit excessive. We play white and black, just best extenders in the entire deck. 1 Levy to complete the Chaos package. I mean, you rip cards with this. This card's crazy. Red MD, this card is not played in every Dragon Link player's deck list, but I don't know why not. This card's crazy. This card basically means that you're not afraid of Nibiru. Like, if you get Nibiru'd, you're always ending on at least 1 negate and usually an IP Masquerena as well. Sometimes you can actually, because of this card, if your opponent Nibiru's you in the wrong place, which is actually where most players try to Nibiru you, which is like, if your opponent, if like say you have Tracer, Recharger, and Spheres on the field, and your opponent like Nibiru's you, that is dropping the nib way too early. Like, they think they're playing around Pepega, but they're really not, because you still at that point have like 4 cards in your hands. Like, you haven't committed very hard, so you can just summon the Red MD out, you get back the Tracer, you summon any level 4 extender, you make the Pepega anyway, you just keep playing. So you're just like getting rid of cards out of their hand. Like, you find a Levy, now they're down to 3 cards. You're summoning at like IP plus Savage plus maybe a Hot Red if you're crazy. Like, they're just not playing. So Red MD is just really good. I don't know why you'd ever cut this card. But I guess if you don't respect Nibiru, then this card's fine to cut. But we play Nibiru because I think this card's nuts. This card, Nibiru isn't like great against every deck in the metagame, but it's good against the decks that Dragon Link loses to, which is why I chose to play it. Like, this card against Prank Hit is insane. This card in the mirror match is like solid, like if you know where to use it. It can be okay against Drytron because there's a lot of Drytron players that are very greedy and they don't respect this card. It's good against like Virtual World if they don't set up the Zulkin like right away. So Virtual World's just solid. Like, it handles some of your rough matchups. And it's a light, so like if you're playing against a matchup that it does nothing, you can just pitch it for Chaos Space, which is nice. Ash Blossom, every deck plays 3 Ash. Like, we're not talking about this. And then Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler has been really common in this format. It's just really solid. It's basically Imperm, but it's a light monster. I don't think we have to say anything more about it. That's really all it is. But Imperm solid too. It's just Effect Veiler is a little bit better because of this card, Chaos Space, which lets you discard it and add a Collapse Serpent or Levianeer. Chaos Space, just crazy card. We don't need to talk about Chaos Space. So we played 3 quick launch. These are standard, and then the 2 field spells are all standard. This stuff we don't have to talk about. The stuff that is a little bit less standard, well, I mean, it used to be standard, but hasn't been standard this format so far, has been the 3 copies of World Legacy Guard Dragon. And, I mean, if you know me, you know I'm a huge fan of this card. But this card in the current list isn't as good as it used to be, like, even by a long shot. Because it used to be that this card was basically a 1.5 card lethal. But now it's like, this card just kind of like helps you push. It's kind of a generic extender right now, which is why I wanted to play it. Like, on the ladder, we were just getting hand trapped to death, like, you know, like 2-3 hand traps in a turn, and we were just ending on like maybe seals. But having the World Legacy Guard Dragon would mean that you would still push through and like make full combo through like multiple hand traps. So this card is just really strong. It lets you kind of play above expected ceiling, which is nice. And it means that you don't have to commit as many resources into like your Pisty if you want to summon a Pisty. Which can make it like really nice if you want to try and like make a greedier board into maybe a less favorable matchup. This card won me several matches really. So probably worth continuing to play, but that could have just been confirmation bias, I'm not sure. And then to finish it off, the 2 Tidings. So we just reduced this ratio and we cut a Tracer to play the World Legacy Guard Dragons. I think it was the right decision. Though I didn't end on this too often. I ended on it a few times, but usually it was like, usually this was just more of an extender than anything else. Like, you draw this card, you pitch it off Dragon Ravine. So yeah, that was the main deck. I'm gonna do the side deck first, which is a little bit out of order for me, but I think the extra deck is gonna be a good jumping off point for the talking about this event and why it was so weird. So hold on, let me flip these around real quick. So we played 3 Droll and Lockbird. Droll's good. I think people have the wrong idea of why I play this card or why they should play this card. Droll is really good if your deck loses to Shaddoll. If your deck loses to Shaddoll, Droll is insane. Because like you can obviously side it against Drytron, but a good Drytron player or even an average Drytron player can play through Droll and Lockbird pretty easily because they play Dragoon. It's pretty solid in the mirror match, but I mean, who's playing the mirror right now? Like this deck's kind of not very popular at the moment. But this card is insane in the mirror. And it's insane against like decks that are scary but that you don't see too often, like Adagnister, for example. So Droll is solid, but it's really just there because it helps against one of the worst matchups, which is Shaddoll. But it goes along really nicely with 3 copies of Cycle Reader for the Drytron matchup. This card is absolutely crazy. The fact that it's a dark means that you can find this off of Pepega. And, you know, like, half the time against Drytron, if I have the choice between ending on a Savage or ending on, or just going Pepega and seeing if I can roll into a Cycle Reader, I'm taking the Pepega roll every time. Because if you find a Cycle Reader against Drytron, Cycle Reader is way more impactful than just opening just having a single Savage negate. So this card's absolutely insane. I would 100% like just never cut this card for the Drytron matchup. Drytron's just too good. Like, you have to respect Drytron, unfortunately, which is like weird because like I feel like we never lose to Drytron, but it's cards like this that like make it so that you never lose to Drytron. Go siding. Then something I'm testing out on the side right now is the 3 copies of Bell. I don't think Bell's crazy, but this is another one of those cards where you just side it because it beats your bad matchups. which are this beats like the Prankid deck really hard. Like if you draw this against Prankid, you just kind of bully them. Like this card and like Twin Twister are the cards that if you draw them against Prankid, like the deck kind of just cries. Also, is that Wise Man? Why no Crescendo so you can mill it then search? I don't know, Wise Man. Why no Crescendo? Why no prize card to count as a 4th copy of Chaos Space to put back my Striker Dragon, right? Which is like unironically something that I tried to convince Astral to do. So I mean, maybe. I mean, Darren did it. So shout out to Darren, by the way. Darren's super nice. I like Darren. But yeah, so I played 3 Bell just because like it beats Prankid, and I was expecting a lot more Prankid than what I played against. And you know, it's also good against Drytron. Like it's not bad against Drytron, it's not bad against Shadow, so like you can side it in. You can also side it against Tri Brigade, like because if they don't get to the Apollo, this card's just crazy against them. But I don't like this card against Tri Brigade too much because 9 times out of 10 they get to the Apollo, so you're not stopping Revolt with it. Wait, Wise Man, are you being serious about Crescendo? Are you like actually serious about Crescendo? Because I mean, like, I know what you're saying, but like, come on, bro, come on. Then you play the 3 Twin Twister. Obviously, like, you have to respect back row decks, but this is mostly for Prankid. It's my bedtime. No bullying, of course, bro. No bully, no bully. But we respect back row decks, so we play back row hate. But that's the only back row hate I played. Now, for the last cards in the side deck, I don't own triple tactical talents. The ones that I have been playing at previous events have been Corey's, and I had to give them back to Corey because Corey did well at a case tournament this weekend. Shout out to Corey. But I had to give them back to him, so I don't have talents anymore. So we played 3 Ghosts in match. This card literally never came in. I never sided this card. But theoretically, this card's super good. Like this card, like you can side this against Prankid going 1st or 2nd, and if you flip this card on them, they lose. Like Prankid can't beat this, even going like, even on like turn 4. So like, say they go first, they get, or turn 3, I guess, like they go first, they set up full combo, you have no hand traps, you go 2nd, and you try and play through their board, they battle butler you twice. Normally that's where you scoop. But like if you just set Goes a match and you just flip it on them, what do? Like they send half of their board to the graveyard and then they cry. Like that's what they do. They don't do anything. Why Gozen over Rivalry? Okay, so I'm gonna explain that. No, Rivalry of the Warlords is not better. And I've heard people try and say that it's better, and it's not in Dragon Link. And the big reason for that is that you can't push as easily under Rivalry as you can under Gozen. Because the big thing is that you don't really kill as often with Boral Sword in this deck as you do with Access Code Talker. I kill 9 times out of 10 with Access Code Talker rather than Boral Sword. So you don't want to like trap yourself into only going for Boral Sword for lethal when 9 times out of 10 you want to go for Access Code anyway. So it locks you out of your Unicorn, it locks you out of your IP, it locks you out of your Access Code. And I don't think it's worth saying like, oh, but I want to be able to summon Romulus when what I think you want really is like, in the matchups where you're playing Rivalry, or not Rivalry, but Gozen, you're not trying to control the game for very long. You just want to like end their turn so that you can kill them. You're just flipping this on your next turn. You're just summoning Access Code plus Papega and they die. That's it. Like, so I don't think you really need to like play Rivalry. The other thing about Gozen is that decks can actually, like, you can't side Rivalry in against Tri Brigade like you can with Gozen, because against Tri Brigade, they can, I think Shurag is a Beast Warrior? Is it a Beast Warrior or a Wing Beast? I don't remember. I think it's Beast Warrior. Whichever one Shurag is, though, they could just like banish, like they could, oh, it's a Wing Beast? Oh, really? Okay, I guess you can put it against Tri Brigade. I thought it was a Beast Warrior, though. But the other point is that it's in the mirror match. you can actually like lock your opponent into an attribute they don't want, because in the mirror match, it's correct to go for what's it called, Romulus, when you're going second if you're pushing the opponent, because you have to generate advantage, because at any point they can like seal and remove whatever setup you go into. So you don't want to make seal going second in the mirror match. But unless your opponent has like a quick launch, or if they opened like extenders and they're thinking to play around Gozen in the mirror, you can trap them into the Romulus, and they don't have any other wind dragons, so like they're just stuck. But you have other darks, so you can continue to play. So Gozen has like better coverage, I think, because you can play under both Rivalry and Gozen just fine, but I think you play a little bit better under Gozen than you do Rivalry. But that could just be me, I don't know. So then we're gonna go on to the extra deck, and I'm gonna take this card, I'm gonna put this here. I'm gonna put this card here. Miradora. Yo, imagine playing Miradora. A friend of mine, Will Candia, actually, I don't know if he went through with it or not, but I remember for one event, he deadass was playing Miradora. Like, at least in a list that he sent me right before an event, he was 100% playing a random copy of Miradora. And to this day, I don't really know why. So I'll start with the synchros this time. You obviously play Savage, Pepega, and Hot Red. These cards are your end board pieces. This is like really important right now, is that I see a lot of Dragon Link players go for like the safe guaranteed play of like Spheres plus Savage, and like maybe a tidying set, and that's not correct most of the time. Like most of the time it's correct to do the Wise Man strat now and go for Pepega before you ever think about putting this card on the field, because 9 times out of 10 you don't have enough follow-up if you just end on Seal Savage. Like if you end on Seal Savage, unless your hand is like insane, you're not gonna have the follow-up in order to like play on the following turn. And that's something that I was actually talking to somebody about earlier today. They were asking me, it's like, well, how often are you able to win on turn 3 anyway? Like, you have to control the game, like, really hard. Like, this deck's really grindy now. I'm like, I kill on turn 3 almost every game, like, or every match. Like, this deck, like, kills on turn 3, but you have to be setting up with the Pepega. Because if you aren't setting up with Pepega, you don't have a floating 3k body. Don't you want to load the grave? Exactly. Like, that's what I'm saying. Is like, you want to go for this Pepega all the time. You want to stack your graveyard as much as possible. But I see a lot of players just going for the Savage because it's safer. And they think Seals is good enough follow-up. But the thing that always happens is then somebody's just going to Ash your Seal, and you have to say to yourself, am I going to waste this Savage negate on an Ash Blossom on my opponent's turn? And the answer is no, you're fucking not. Like, that's just not something you're gonna do. And then, you know, like, say they're able to out your Savage Dragon. Alright, now you have no follow-up at all. You have no play anymore. So you really want to, like, start stacking the graveyard. And, like, you can still get to the Savage Dragon. But 9 times out of 10, these are the 2 that you're going for now, rather than this. This is usually the recovery option for Nibiru, or if your hand is super gas, you can just, like, make this and gut check them on the nib. So that's all I have to say about the synchros, really. Then we played the Striker Dragon and the Pisty for the 2 Link 1s. Unfortunate that you have to play one of this now, but I mean, my Link 1 dragons are getting lonely, but they are what they are. They're still the best cards in the extra deck. Striker just does everything that you ever want it to do, and Pisty, Pisty's there. Like, Pisty exists. Like, he exists. He does his job. But you don't summon this as nearly as much as you would think you might. I think that could be another thing that, like, if you're newer to Dragon Link, don't feel like you have to summon Pisty. Like, you don't need to summon this. This is more of like a synchro deck than it is a Link deck, which is like a weird statement considering the name of the deck is Dragon Link. But you don't need to make this Pisty in order to play the deck correctly. But it's there for when you have the gas to go for it. Romulus, you summon this pretty much every turn now. You pretty much need to, just to set up for the Savage Dragon and also to just get necessary combo pieces. But this card's good. Nothing really else to say about that. You play 2 Seals, pretty much as you always have. Seals is Seals. This is a lot of your recovery, but it's also like your key point of interaction. Like Seals tidying is, even Seals on its own pretty much beats half the metagame. Like you can break down Tri-Brigade as just having 2 summons, their normal summon plus Karos, and maybe a Barrage if they have it. So like this alone beats half of Tri-Brigade's entire turn. This alone beats Prankid's like 60% of the time. Seals is just insane. Also, Heeg asks, don't you want to load the grave? By the way, will the Link 5 be good for Dragon Link? The Link 5 is absolutely busted. I don't know what they're thinking. Like, cards are going to get banned before we ever get that card. Like, that card is just so stupid. Quad Boral. So, actually, let me switch the order of this. You also play IP. IP is really, I guess I can talk about these two together. I was thinking that this one was like more generic, but these two kind of go together. You really only summon IP Masquerena or Quad Boral if you get Nibiru'd most of the time. Like 9 times out of 10 when you're summoning these cards, it's because you got Nibiru'd. And I was talking about this earlier today, is that a lot of the time your end board after you've been Nibiru'd is IP Masquerena plus Savage Dragon. Like that's like your ideal end board when you get Nibiru'd. Well, it's not like ideal, like, because you can do a lot better depending on where they nib you, but that's usually when you summon these two cards. Quad Boral's a little bit like they have like their nuances. Like IP, sometimes you can summon it if you're reading like a Dogmatic of Punishment. You can summon this and check to see if your opponent is going to like let this stick on the field or not. And sometimes like you can kind of get under your opponent by summoning this and making cards so that they can't be destroyed. Like it's kind of important sometimes to make a unicorn or an access code using IP Masquerena just so that it's survivable, but never came up for me, so kind of niche. The other thing with Quad Boral that does come up is that if your opponent controls a Link monster, like a Link 2 monster, Quad Boral is lethal. So as long as they have a Link 2 monster, this card is just lethal, like on its own. So this card's actually crazy. Like you could possibly play 2 of this. Like I'm not even joking. Like this card's so good. Yeah, I don't really know what to say, and that's in large part because of the access code. Access code, like you can Quad Boral. It's like really relevant against Tri-Brigade because you can pop their, like, say Rugal for example, and get all 3 rockets back, and then you could go up into like access code and pop like their whole field. You can go Papega with this and then mill 5 cards, and then you have like Papega plus access code. Like it's just crazy. Yeah, this card's just nuts. Then we play a card that kind of looks like Quad Boral, which is Triple Burst. Triple Burst, I've had a few people ask me like why I'm playing Triple Burst, and I guess the best explanation that I can give you for Triple Burst and why you might want to play this card is, first of all, it lets you do a Pisty combo without having to recycle your Striker Dragon and without having to put the Quad Boral on the field early, which is kind of important. Also, hold on. I think the music might be too loud. I don't think anybody mentioned it, but I think the music might have been too loud. So hopefully this recording's usable. This lets you do Pisty combos without needing to waste your Quad Boral, without needing to waste your second Striker, like if you put it back off of Chaos Space. So it's really nice for that reason, because it's just good for resource management. but it's also good because in the mid game, this allows you to set up really easy access code OTKs by going into like a red MD. Like say for example, like your opponent goes into the battle phase and they have no threats, right? Like they're not threatening you, like they just have a single monster. So you could just like sphere bounce something and now like bounce their only monster, and then you could summon red MD in defense, like next to like a savage or whatever. And the red MD can just get back the triple burst if you did go for a triple burst line, and you just make access code and you're already in like 2 summons on the start of your next turn, you already have lethal. So this card's really strong for that. Hi from Argentina. That's a Masquerina. This one? Yeah, this is Masquerina. How's it going, friend? How you doing, Ali? We're currently just going through a deck profile before we go into the stream and talk about the event. And we're just about done with it. There's also a good arrow to the left. Yeah, it does have a nice arrow as well. That doesn't really come up much. Though I should mention the negate in damage step is actually relevant because it helps you push against Striker, like, which is, you know, like Striker's already kind of favorable, at least in my mind. I think it is. But what it's really good for is against Adagnister. It lets you play through Dan Mari plus the Wind Pegasus and still OTK over the Arrival Adagnister. So this card is really crazy. Like, we've done this on stream where our opponent had like Dan Mari, Wind Pegasus, Arrival, and we end on like Savage Dragon plus Boral Sword plus Triple Burst, and they can't use the Dan Mari to negate the Savage Dragon because we have the Savage negate, and then they can't Wind Pegasus to get rid of the Boral Sword either because we have the Triple Burst. So it's really crazy. Also, Ali, thank you for the follow, friend. Welcome aboard. Going into the last few cards in the extra deck is just the OTK core. You have the Unicorn access code. We make these all the time now. Like, these are really the way that you're winning most games, but we still play Boral Sword because you need it to out certain cards like Dragoon and like the Arrival Adagnister, and sometimes you just don't want to like waste resources to go into these two. So you have very flexible ways to kill your opponent. I think this deck is actually better at going second than it is at going first. Now, for the last card in the extra deck, we play Apollo. However, at the tournament, I made an error on my deck list. This is very much unlike me, but I filled out my deck list at like 4 in the morning, and I was exhausted. Like, it was to a point where I was even asking Brenda, it's like, should I even play in this tournament tomorrow? Like, I was so tired. That what I did is I took a previous deck list that I had submitted, because they don't have you submit deck lists with like the official deck list forms for the extravaganzas. They have you use like their own website, and the interface is not great. So I just took a previous deck list and I edited it, and I just changed the cards that were different. And for the extra deck, because really the only cards in the extra deck that changed are the cards that, you know, got banned. Like, we lost 2 Striker Dragons and an LP. So you just put in the replacement cards, like these 2 and like IP Triple Burst, and you're pretty much done. Like, you take out the Hulk and you switch it for IP, and then you just fill the extra deck with new cards, and you're pretty much done. What I did not check, though, was that apparently in the previous deck list that I was basing my list off of, I was playing this fucking card instead of Apollo for some reason. I don't know why. So I get deck checked mid-event. The deck check goes perfectly up until the 15th card in extra deck, and they literally say, and 1 copy of Scarlet Dragon. And I said to the judge, excuse me? And it was like, 1 copy of Scarlet Dragon. You know, like, the deck, like, up to this point, everything's been fine. It's been very routine. We've been going through it very quickly. So, like, there were no problem. He was like, 1 copy of Scarlet. I'm like, what do you mean 1 copy of Scarlet? I'm not playing Scarlet. He was like, it's right here on your deck list. I'm like, hold on. So I go to the website, I pull up the deck list I submitted, and I'm like, oh, Jesus. And right there on my deck list is a copy of Scarlet. So I had to go rummage through my deck boxes over there, and thank God I found one. Like, it wouldn't have mattered because at no point during the tournament did I want to summon either of these cards. Like, there was literally no point in the entire tournament where I wanted to make either one of these, but technically we played Scarlet Dragon. But it never came up. But it almost came up, which I'll go into in a minute, because it almost came up and it was kind of funny, but it didn't come up. So let's get into why this event was like the weirdest event I think I've ever played. That's the deck profile. Now let's get into why this tournament was the weirdest tournament I think I've ever played in my entire life. This tournament was 7 rounds. This wasn't an 8-round extravaganza. It was a 7-round extravaganza. So I was already hyped. I was like, sick. 1 less round than normal. I get a round 1 bye? Like, I don't know. Like, I guess I was the last person to submit a deck list or something. So I got a round 1 bye. So it was a 6-round tournament. So I was like super neat because I was like really tired in the morning. Like I needed that extra hour to wake up. So I get the round 1 bye. Round 2, I pretty much get a bye because I lose the dice roll. My opponent rolls 12. I roll anything other than 12. Like this is the point of like me waking up. He rolls a 12 before I can even find my second dice. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna roll this dice and I'm gonna see if it's even worth rolling another dice. I roll it. Oh wow, it actually happened. I got a 4. I'll even show you guys. I got a 4. And that's exactly the same thing that happened then. I rolled a 4 and it's like, you know what? 4 doesn't beat a 6, so there's no way in hell that I beat that. So he goes first. He goes, activate Gishki Vision. And I'm sitting there like, what the fuck? And immediately I just ask him, how many cards are in your deck? He's like, 50. I'm like, okay. And then he goes, reveal Zeta Aldaba. I ash him, and he just passes. And so I'm like, all right. So he drolls me after I add Boot Sector. And I stare at my hand for a little bit, and I start on Chaos Space. I pitch Red MD, and I get Wyver Burster with Chaos Space. He drolls me, and I'm just thinking to myself, because I don't know what my opponent's playing yet. Like, I've seen Gishki Vision and Zeta Aldaba, so I'm assuming it's some kind of Drytron deck, and that, like, he just needed to get the Meteonis in hand. Or something along those lines. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, he's maining Droll, he could play other hand traps, but you know, like, my end board isn't great against Drytron anyway. I'm just gonna push, because I realized that because I had the Red MD in my graveyard, I actually had a lethal setup with Access Code Talker. Because I could just, so what I did was I just summoned Tracer with, I think I hard opened Tracer Recharger, I don't remember. I might not have. But I just went for Boot Sector immediately. Or no, I went for I remember now. I had Tracer Quick Launch. This is what it was, because I'm like thinking, I'm having to remember this because it was so early in the morning yesterday. I opened Tracer Quick Launch, I normal summon the Tracer, I activate Quick Launch, and I chain Tracer to the Quick Launch, popping the Quick Launch, and I get 2 free bodies. And then I turn the Recharger into Striker, and then just reborn the Red MD that way, and just get a body back. And then I just go straight up into Unicorn, summon the Wyver Burster, make Access Code, and just attack with Red MD and Access Code. It gets even weirder because my opponent doesn't know what Access Code Talker is. And I'm not saying, like, in terms of he doesn't know what it does. He doesn't know what the card is, to a point where he called it At-Bode Talker. Like, he was like, and what does At-Bode Talker do? I'm like, what? So I was just confused. So that was game 1. Game 2 is even weirder. Game 2, he goes first again. And, you know, I just side for Drytron thinking I'm playing against, like, standard Drytron, right? He starts his turn, and he goes, activate Nova. And I just ash it, right? Because, like, he's playing 50 cards, so I'm thinking that, like, you know, maybe he needs to, like, get his, like, maybe he's, like, lower on resources. He needs the Rhoda more than, like, a standard Drytron would, right? So I ash it. He chains Called by the Grave, and I'm like, great, okay. But, you know, I'm sitting there. I think I have a Droll and Lockbird in my hand. I either have Droll or Cycle Reader. Maybe it's a Bell. Like, it's like I have some good hand trap in my hand. And I'm like, so it's not the end of the world. No, it couldn't have been Bell because I would have just Belled the Called by. Yeah, I think it was Cycle Reader. And he summons the Zeta, like he summons his Zeta Aldaba after Called buying my Ash. Now, I just want you to think for a second while I'm telling the story. Think for a second. What do you think is the most likely next option for my opponent to take? My opponent set a card and passed, and in the end phase, Zeta Aldaba died. They did not make Link Rebo. They did not do anything. They Called by the Grave my Ash Blossom to summon a Zeta Aldaba in defense, and then proceeded to their end phase. So I was just sitting there like, I'm being trolled. Like, this is not real. Like, what just happened? And my hand is insane too. Like, for turn, I did draw a Bell. I did have a Bell, but it was the card I drew for turn. But the rest of my hand is like nuts. It's like Quick Launch, Seifert, World Legacy Guard Dragon. I'm just sitting there like, this hand is cracked. I normal summon Seifert, and my opponent flips Solemn Judgment. So I am beyond confused at this point. I like to a point where I have no idea what's happening. I activate the World Legacy Guard Dragon and I summon back the Seifert, and I think I used its effect. I don't remember exactly. Yeah, I think I used the effect, and I think I tributed like maybe a Tracer out of my hand or something. And my opponent then Drolls me again after I search. And now I'm really confused because not only did my opponent pass on a Zeta Aldaba in defense without making a Link Rebo or anything, but they had the option of normal summoning Droll. Like, I could get it, like, maybe they weren't playing Link, like, maybe they weren't playing Link Rebo, because they were clearly playing some kind of weird version of Drytron that was trying to hand loop me. So, like, you know, maybe they didn't have space for Link Rebo. But if they're playing Drytron cards, they, like, 110% have space for Mu Beta Fafnir. Like, that card's not even expensive. Like, it's, like, $7 now or something. It's, like, somewhere between $7 and $20. I'm just so confused. Like, I'm just sitting there like, if your alternative here was to, like, and keep in mind that I OTK'd my opponent underneath Droll the previous match, or the previous game, so, like, clearly like, my opponent knows that Droll and Lockbird is not enough to stop me from killing them. So I have no idea what happened. So I just attacked them. I think I attacked them with a Wyverburster. I summoned Seifert in defense because I never in my life expected to get Drolled in that situation. Because, like, you know, like, I would think my opponent would have normal summoned it if they had it. And, you know, like, actually played instead of passing on literally set Solemn Judgment, 2 cards in hand, pass. Like, my opponent unironically went, like, -3 on their first turn. Like, I have no words. So I was just sitting in complete confusement. I just poked them and I made seals and I passed. And so, you know, I'm expecting them to push me again, but I'm sitting on like Cycle Reader Bell at this point. And they go tribute Meteonis Draconids from hand to summon Zeta. And I Cycle Reader the Zeta and the Draconids. And they almost concede, but I can see the gears in their head turning that they shouldn't concede yet. They set a card. Keep in mind, they have 2,300 life points at this point. They set a card, and they pass to me. So I just, in my end phase, and now they have no cards in hand. All they have is this one set card. And I'm just sitting there thinking, I'm like, wait a second. This still doesn't make any sense because they either had whatever card they just set or or the Meteonis Draconids in their hand on their first turn. So either they could have continued to play with this Zeta by going into Karibo and then tributing the Draconids and like adding the ritual and, you know, I don't know, maybe cheat and like summon like Union Carrier, who the fuck knows. But like they could have done something on their previous turn, right? If they had the Draconids. So I'm thinking that they have the card that they just set. But if they set this card now, why didn't they set it the first turn? So I'm like, okay, that card's probably just a bluff. So I'm like, that card's not real. So I just bounce my Guard Dragon back to my hand. I go to my, start my turn, and I summon Absolrouter in my deck, because there's nothing left in my deck that I really even want to summon. And I just activate the Guard Dragon again to try and summon back the Safer. And they're like, thinking really hard, and they're like, yeah, that's fine. I'm like, okay. So I'm already 500 points away from winning. And all I just do is I go Safer Tribute Absolrouter, is that fine? They're like, yeah. I add Nocto, I trigger the router. I'm like, okay, like maybe it's something, but like I know it can't be called by because they used it on their first turn. So I'm like, add Tracer? And they're like, sure. I normal summon the Tracer. They're like, yeah, that's fine. I'm like, okay, attack for game. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. And then they're like, I had the Solemn Judgment. So now I'm like stupid confused because not only could they have, like, either they could have played on their first turn and they just chose not to, or they could have set 2 back row on their first turn and they chose not to. Either way, I was just completely confused. Because they just ended up letting me just like kill them. How do you deal with full combo Drytron board? You do not. You do not, Ali. Like if Drytron goes off, you just scoop the game. But like that's why like the deck. That's why the deck is like basically the buy. It's never getting off. Like it's never doing its combo. Like you just like. It's like that. Also, real shitty. Hey, what's up, Jib? So that was my round 2. And now keep in mind, this opponent had to have won their round 1. So like, I'm like at a loss. Round 3, I play against another Drytron player. This one like seems to just be playing standard Drytron. We beat them pretty fast. It wasn't even fair. It's literally better than your favorite deck. Dog, that deck is just like Goobersville. I don't know what to tell you, Jib. Deck is Goobersville. So the next Drytron player is like bites the dust. And that was like pretty much the last real round of Yu-Gi-Oh! We played for the day. Because immediately after that, I played against an opponent where I never saw what my opponent's deck was. Like, I just did not see their deck. Because game 1, they double hand trap me, they Ash Blossom me, I think they like, it was either Ash or Valor, and then they had Bell. So like they had 2 hand traps, but the Bell made me think like, okay, this has to be like some kind of a mid-range, like this is Tri-Brigade or Prank Kid, because like what has the space to main a Bell? And it's like not very many decks. But then I asked my opponent how many cards was in his deck, and he said 46. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, it can't be Prank Kid and it can't be Tri-Brigade because those decks play 40 cards. Because like those are like consistent decks. Like that's what they do. So I'm like at a loss for how to side for my opponent. So I just side in Twin Twister. That's all I sided in. I'm like, whatever my opponent's deck is, if it's playing hand traps like that, like it's probably playing back row. And yeah, he already got it. It was Phantom Knight, but when my opponent goes first, they go set 2 pass. That's it. They just go for set 2 pass. And my hand is the nuts. Like, my hand is like Chaos Space, Nibiru, Quick Launch, like World Legacy, like Safer, like My hand is crazy. So I'm just sitting there like, what in the fuck? There might have been a Noctivision in my hand actually. I don't know. But for whatever reason, like, because I still didn't know what my opponent was playing, I was still expecting it to be like, I'm thinking like, okay, maybe they just bricked. Whatever it is, they might have just bricked. And on the off chance it's like 46 card Prank Kid, I don't want to lead with Chaos Space and pitch this nib out of my hand. So I started with Quick Launch, and they chain Imperial Order. So I chain the other Quick Launch. They ash it. And I was just sitting there like, what in the fuck? So I'm now down 2 cards, but now they only have like 3. So I do something. I think I like summon Safer. I might have tributed something out of hand. And whatever I did, I ended on a seal. I think they discarded a droll that did nothing because I was just making seal and passing anyway. So, yeah, they did droll me, actually. I remember this. They drolled me, but the droll didn't matter. I didn't care about the droll because I wasn't, like, doing anything with my hand anyway. So I just ended on seal pass. And they drew for turn, and they were like, they, like, sighed really, like, annoyed. And they just set another card, and they set a monster in defense. And I just, in their end phase, I just bounced the Imperial Order. So now I have a Chaos Space that's live. They have no card. The only card in their hand is Imperial Order, and they just have a set monster and 2 back row. And my Chaos Space is now live. So I'm like, all right, they're just getting blown out. And then I draw for turn, and I'm like, oh, okay, like this is now going to be really crazy because I drew Twin Twister. So I just started my turn by just twinning their back row and just being like, okay, I'm a better player. And then they concede, and they reveal that they were playing Prank Kid, or not Prank Kid, Phantom Knight. So that was round 4. So now we have so far had 3 not real rounds and 1 Drytron, which was pretty free. Like, sorry, Jib, but it was very free. So we're now in round 5. Round 5, I play against the duelist that I play against pretty much every single time I play in one of these remote duel events. If you've been following the stream long enough, you know exactly who I'm talking about. But I'm not going to mention them by name because of how this goes down. Game 1. Oh, and so because we play so often, I start off, I'm like trying to be friendly when we get into the call. And I'm like, man, what is this? Like the 5th or 6th time that we've played at one of these events. And this dude, like, straight up does not know who I am. Like, he straight up just has no idea who I am. And I'm just sitting there like, are you joking? Like, we've played like 6 times, and every single time that we play each other, you address me as, you're that guy that I know, that we're in a Discord server together. I'm like, okay. Like, so yeah, it was a bizarre way to start. I go first, I win the dice roll, and he scoops pretty much immediately. So we blindside. I have a pretty good idea of what he's playing, so I blindside for him. And he probably he correctly sides for me because he saw what I was playing. And he scooped to not reveal what he was playing, but like, I had an idea of what he was playing already, so I just sided for what I expected. We get deck checked in the middle of siding. And this is when, we talked about this at the start where we get deck checked, and apparently I just had an incorrect deck list, and instead of playing Apollo, my deck list said Starlight. So I had to change that, and I got a game loss for that. So that's on me. Does revealing the deck tell who he is? Probably. Probably. So we go to game 3, and I adjust my side. Now, I side for the wrong deck. What's really funny is I sided for the correct deck going second, but I side for the wrong deck going first. And I go first, and I open really strong. Like, I have a really strong hand. How do you even do a deck check for remote duels? Okay, so how remote duel deck checks go is a judge will move you into a private channel that only, like, the judges can, like, move people in and out of. So that people can't, like, spy on your deck. And they just have you just go through your deck. They have, like, a deck list, and they just read off, like, a checklist, and they have you just show the cards. So it's pretty, they just do it the same way, and then they give you an extra like 5 minutes to shuffle your deck. But because I got a game loss, there was no time extension given. So we go straight to game 3. So I sided wrong for going first. So my hand is a little bit weaker, and he has triple. How did you go Scarlet over Apo? Oh, because I imported a previous deck list, Omega Joey. Because, like, I talked about this at the start of the stream, but I was just very tired at the start, or, like, when I submitted my deck list, it was, like, 4 a.m., and, like, very little changes in Dragon Link, so I just made the, like, changes that I actually made, and I didn't realize that whatever list I used as the base, for whatever reason, I was playing Scarlet over Apollo in that specific list. You slept in for 2 hours. Honestly, I wish I could have done that. Like, that would have been so much better. But, but, like, I never made the Apollo, and I never made the Scarlet, so it never mattered. Like, that card could have literally been blank, and the event wouldn't have changed for me. Oh. Ooh, that does sound rough. I'm sorry, friend. But I was kind of in the same position. I slept for, like, maybe 4 or 5. Not as bad as 2 hours though. That's just crazy. Let me think. Where was I? Oh yeah. So my hand was crazy. I had a hand trap for like backup, but it was the wrong hand trap against his deck because he had changed what he was playing. And he opened triple hand trap against me. He had Ash, Valor, Imperm. So I passed on like nothing. Like my hand was like terrible. Like after 3 hand traps. And then he was able to like just push through. Like he had everything. So I was like feeling really down bad. But now this is the part of the story where I'm going to mention the fact that throughout this entire, like, for reference, like game 1 was so fast, it was like 5 minutes. Then we had a game loss. So game 3 started and we still have like 45 minutes in the round. Like we had an asinine amount of time. For the entirety of those 45 minutes, my opponent's camera was lagging so horrendously that we only got as far as my first turn and his first turn. And it was to a point where like it was interrupting the game too. Like I would tell him to like cut his deck and he would, like, the camera would freeze and his deck would be sitting there and then it would unfreeze and he'd be like, okay, I cut. But his deck hadn't moved and we never saw anything on the screen. I say we because there were judges in the call. And I was just like, no, you didn't. You didn't cut your deck. Like, if you did. Is that 5th rate duelist? What's up, 5th rate duelist? Isn't that a game loss? So, kind of. So 5th rate duelist and friends, to fill you guys in on what we're doing, we just went through my deck profile from the Extravaganza, and I'm currently talking about why this was the weirdest event that I think I've ever played. We are currently in round 5. To give you the brief summary for people just joining us, we played Dragon Link. We did well with Dragon Link because we always play Dragon Link and we always do well with it because it's the best deck ever printed. Sorry, no flame. And then so give you guys a quick recap. Round 1 I got a bye. Round 2 I basically got a bye because my opponent was, I think, playing Drytron, but the kind of Drytron where they special summon Zeta in defense off of Nova and then proceed to their end phase and allow it to die. And they're also playing Solemn Judgment in their Drytron deck. And there were Gishki cards in the deck, and I was very confused. I don't know, like... Oh, wait! See, Ginseng, you were the opponent that I missed lethal by 50 on. What the fuck? Oh, I remember that game. Oh my god, I was so mad about that. I miscounted lethal. I can't believe that was you. Oh my god, what's up, buddy? That's crazy. So the lore for people who just witnessed that is I played against C Ginseng at an event, and I think you were playing Tri Brigade, right? For whatever reason, I thought Kit had 1,000 attack points. When I was doing math with a calculator because I was like going for lethal, and instead of like setting up a negate board, which I should have done, I was like, oh, this is lethal. I punched in that half of 700 was 500, so I thought I had 8,300 damage. Instead, I had 7,950 damage. And I was like kicking myself because then C Jensen was able to like, I didn't pass on anything because I went for lethal and I just missed. So C Jensen was actually able to reverse kill me. It was a good game. It was a good one. That one was fun. 700 attack, 1,000 defense. Ah, that's what it is. So going back to the quick recap for people just joining us. So we got basically another bye. Then we played against Drytron, which was just an easy. I think I 2-0'd him. Maybe I scooped a board, but I think I 2-0'd him. Just easy game. Like, wasn't really much of a challenge. Then we played against an opponent where I just never saw their deck. Like, I just literally never saw what they were playing. They scooped a board game 1. They hand trapped me like they were playing Prank Kid, but they were playing 46 cards, so I knew it couldn't be Prank Kid. And then game 2, they just set 2 and passed 2 turns in a row, and they died. And now we're on the game where I played against an opponent who I'm not going to name because of the situation, but the game 1 I win very quickly. Like within like the first 5 minutes, I've already won game 1. Game 2, we go to side, and I get a game loss in siding because how I submitted my deck list is because I was like super tired the night before. I just copied a deck list from a previous like submission, and I just changed like the 3 cards that I changed in the deck. And I didn't notice that for whatever reason in that specific deck list that I chose to use as like the base for the Extravaganza, I wasn't playing Apollo for whatever reason. I was playing a Scarlight instead, and I just didn't ever think that I would have done that. So I submitted a deck list that had a Scarlight in it instead of an Apollo. I never summoned either Apollo or Scarlight, so that slot didn't end up mattering anyway, but I got a game loss in the deck check because everything else was right except for the last card. So where we're at in my storytelling is now we're going into game 3, and funnily enough, I had actually sided correctly for my opponent for going second, but I side incorrectly when I go first because I still didn't know what they were playing. We play against each other a lot at these tournaments, so I thought I knew what they were playing, but they had actually changed decks. And then they open a god hand on me. They open like triple hand trap plus combo on me. But their camera is so bad. And like I mentioned how long that the first game took because their camera is so bad and it's freezing so much and it's interrupting with the game where like I'm asking them to like cut their deck in half and like the camera will like freeze, and then he'll be like, okay, I cut my deck, and then the camera hasn't changed at all. I haven't seen him cut. The judge didn't see him cut. Nobody saw him cut. And he's just going back to playing. It's like, hold on, you didn't cut. And there's all this arguments and stuff. And he's saying everything looks fine on his end, but like me, the judges were all telling him that like he's lagging a bunch, he's like freezing, but they're not giving him a game loss for it. So, and the reason I'm mentioning the time is that there was like maybe the round was like maybe 10 minutes into the round, like by the time we get to game 3. By the time a judge finally issues a penalty for this, like, we spend the next 40 minutes of the match playing one turn and doing basically troubleshooting his camera for the next 40 minutes because it's so bad. Like, we get through about one turn through all the pausing and interruption. So he gets a game loss after that for having basically an unplayable camera setup. So we're on to now round 6. Where I'm now in the second to last round of this extravaganza, and I basically have not played Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, I mean, I've played Yu-Gi-Oh! But, like, it was either decks that were just, like, so free that it didn't feel like I was playing, or I got a bye, or I got a game loss, and it's crazy. I heard that some people lost one duel by deck check. Yeah, I lost one by a deck check, and then my opponent lost that same match. My opponent lost one because he had a terrible camera, and then he baby raged about it. This is why I don't want to mention them, is he baby raged, and was like kind of rude and obnoxious to me, to the judges. It was fun. It was a great time. So, and he kept trying to say that we were only mentioning his camera because he was winning. And the judge, like, even cut in and said, no, dude, like, I can't even see your screen. Like, it is not your opponent trying to get a free win. Your camera is legitimately terrible. So it was a thing. Deadly lost one by deck check too. Jesus Christ. No, the Dragon Link squad. Wait, did Deadly play in the extravaganza this weekend? So there was that, and then the next round I played against was Hero. I played against pure Hero at table 1, and game 1 I lost to Forbidden Droplets. I was like trying to play around like, obviously Dragon Link loses to Dark Law, like there's nothing that you can do about Dark Law, but I was trying to play around it as best I could. Like, it was some copium, but he had Forbidden Droplet after, like, I got up to an access code talker, plus, like, I was about to have a access code plus Papega. And my opponent just... The expensive hero build? I don't know. I don't know which one it was. But, like, I opened to give you an idea, I opened an Abiru against my opponent, so I thought I was good, and he summoned 3 times, and he just ended on, like, Dark Law plus set 2. So I was just like, oh, okay, I can't beat that. I tried, but, you know, it just didn't work. Game 2, I just combo, and I win. Game 3, like... I don't remember why it took so long, but we get to game 3 and we only have 3 minutes on the clock. My opponent just combos and then burns me in time with Destiny Hero Dystopia. But I was really excited that we were getting close to time, because if my opponent had actually given me a turn, like, rather than just passing with Dystopia, the Scarlight that I wasn't playing but then apparently had to put in my deck because apparently I'm just incompetent, could have come up. So I was really excited. No Malicious Bane and Ferris. I didn't see Malicious Bane, but I would assume it was in their deck. Like, there was definitely Ferris. But I was really excited that I almost summoned Malicious Bane, or not Malicious Bane. I almost summoned Scarlight, but I did not. So we lost in time to Dystopia. So now we are we're 5-1 going into the last round of Swiss, and then we play against Shadal that just bullies the adver loving fuck out of us. Like, he rolls like a 12, and then he ends on the most cracked board I think I've ever seen a Shadal player end on. He ended on it was like public knowledge that he had at least one hand trap in his hand. Like prosperity, because he prosperitied and he took a bell. And then he had Schism already. He had Dragoon, which was crazy. So he ended on like Dragoon, Schism, Macabre, Bell, and 5 cards in hand. It was absolutely ridiculous. Like, so I just scooped that one pretty fast. And then game 2, I think he had Droll or something. Like, I think he blindsided Droll or something ridiculous. And I don't even know. But I just got bullied. I got bullied. So I went 5-2, and I got 8th place. And I really don't feel like I should have topped this event because we basically played 2 games of Yu-Gi-Oh! And we lost both of them. But I guess we take those. So yeah, that was my tournament experience this weekend. How do you deal with cheating? Sometimes it's hard to focus searching something when looking at my opponent. I just full screen my Discord call. Like, I just full screen the Discord call and I just look at their screen. Like, I have their screen in front of me while I'm playing. So, you know, like, I'm like looking at my opponent's field like as I'm playing. So I've never really had a problem with like cheating in remote duels. Like, I don't really think it's that bad. Like, some people say that it's really bad in remote duels, but I've never had a problem. You know, like, even against people that are like alleged stackers, like, I just haven't had a problem. Iron Man starting. Ooh, what are the names? What are the names? What are the names? All right, we're gonna hop into an Iron Man. CJang says, congrats on 8th place. Thank you, bro. Thank you. I'm actually really glad that we got the 8th place, though, because when we got 3rd place at the last Extravaganza I played in, they didn't send me the fucking mat. Like, they just sent me the entry packs. That was it. Like, they didn't send me the mat. So, and I've been, like, trying to get the, I've been trying to get them to send me the mat. Like, I've reached out to the tournament organizer, I've reached out to Konami, I've done everything I can, but they just like, I think they just said fuck it, like, you're not getting your mat. So now we've now won 2 of the mats, so hopefully we'll get at least 1 of them. And if they don't send me the mat again, I'm just gonna baby rage. Like, that's all it's gonna be. So that was the tournament experience, and now we're gonna hop into the Iron Man. So we have Cody versus June right now. This is a 2v2 Iron Man, the kind of the new flavor of the week right now in the Coliseum is to do 2v2 Iron Mans rather than trying to get 3 people together for a team. It's just pairs, just duos, a little bit shorter, a little bit easier to just like run a bunch of them in the day. So we've got Kiss Yourself June versus Cody Angry Bob, Mr. Cody Angry Bob. And it looks like Kiss Yourself is going first, playing that Tri-Brigade strategy. It looks like Cody won game 1 and is currently activating the effect of Twin Twister to just snipe the back row right away. June did not end on a great board, ending on just Revolt Double Dragon Lords, and obviously, because June was trying to get the additional value off of Dragon Lords by sending Kit, he does not now have 4 names, so he can't even go for Shurag if he wanted to. So this is not looking great for June. We see Cody discard the Retaliating Sea. If I were to guess, I think Cody's probably playing Drytron. Like, I just have a read that he's playing Drytron, but he could be playing anything. I got second at that Extrav. I was against you. I tied to Ishan. We were both